Alex, after 15 years with Innovatech, sat in a small meeting room as Jordan Lee announced, with a mix of regret and relief, that her role was being restructured. Seated across from her, alongside Dana from HR, both sporting carefully rehearsed expressions of corporate sympathy, Jordan explained that the company was shifting its focus. Dana added that they were merging the research division with the product team and slid a neat folder across the table. Alex listened quietly as the folder, containing the standard severance package, 2 weeks pay per year served, 3 months of continued health benefits, and a list of career counseling options she would never use, was placed before her. In a calm voice, she said, "I completely understand." Even though they'd expected tears, protests, or anger from a 55-year-old woman being edged out of an industry that prized youth over experience. What they didn't know was that Alex had seen this coming for weeks, ever since she'd received a misdirected email last month asking her to clear out her desk by Friday. Jordan, gaining confidence from Alex's apparent acceptance, continued by saying they would need her key card, company laptop, and phone before she left, and that her team would be informed later that day. That team of 6 brilliant engineers, all handpicked and mentored by Alex over the years, was the same group that had helped her develop the distributed processing algorithm powering Innovatech's flagship accounting software, used by over 40% of major corporations. Rising from her chair, Alex asked if there was anything else, and after exchanging confused looks, Jordan quickly said, "That's it for now. Thanks for handling this professionally." As Alex returned to her office, she passed a glass-walled conference room where the executive team was gathered. Through the transparent barrier, she saw CEO Brian Cole energetically pointing at a PowerPoint slide titled Q3 Revenue Projections, the very same Brian who had taken credit for her work at last year's industry event, referring to her only as one member of the research team. After closing her office door, Alex pulled out her personal phone and sent a single text. "It's happening. Friday's my last day." The reply was instantaneous. Perfect timing. "Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details." She smiled as she glanced at her desk calendar. Today was Wednesday. Friday would mark her final day at Innovatech, and Monday would bring a fascinating new chapter. That evening, Alex met Lucas Reed at an upscale restaurant far from Innovatech's headquarters. As the CEO of Precision Systems, the company's biggest competitor, Lucas valued discretion. He had reserved a private dining nook in the back, shielded by modern Japanese screens. "They actually did it," Lucas remarked, shaking his head after they ordered. Alex admitted, "They might have tried, but they never understood what I really built," sipping her water. Lucas nodded, recalling how he'd seen the implementation, the user interface, the marketing potential. But to them, the deep architecture was just tech stuff. The irony wasn't lost on her. 3 months earlier, she had discovered that the patent application for her algorithm had never been filed by Innovatech's legal team. When she had inquired, they assured her it would be handled immediately, but something felt off. So she checked the company's internal files and found a memo outlining plans to claim the algorithm as company property without naming any inventor. They had planned to sideline her even before securing the patent, banking on the fact that innovations made during work usually belong to the company. What Innovatech didn't realize was that Alex had already been refining the algorithm on her own time using her personal equipment. These enhancements boosted processing efficiency by 43% and weren't covered by her work contract. Quietly, she filed for a patent in her own name last month, complete with timestamps and detailed logs showing that the work was done off the clock. The patent was granted swiftly, thanks in part to Lucas's connection with a top intellectual property lawyer. "All the paperwork is done," Lucas confirmed, sliding a folder over the table. "As soon as you sign, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your patent." The press release goes out Monday morning. It announced her new role as Chief Innovation Officer. Alex reviewed the documents carefully, even though she had already memorized the main points. A 7-figure signing bonus, significant equity in Precision Systems, and ongoing royalties from every product using her algorithm. Lucas asked, "How do you think Brian's face will look when he finds out?" Unable to hide his satisfaction, he added, "I'm more worried about your team." Alex admitted they don't deserve to be caught in the fallout. Lucas reassured her, "We've already got positions lined up for all 6 of them, with senior roles and sizable raises." With a graceful gesture, she signed the final page, closed the folder, and knew that she had secured her future, protected her team, and paved the way for her next chapter. Lucas raised his glass and toasted, "To owning your worth," and she clinked her glass in return. Thursday and Friday blurred into a whirlwind of exit interviews, handover meetings, and farewells to colleagues. Alex maintained her professional composure throughout, even as rumors spread around the office. Administrative assistants offered her sympathetic looks, and junior developers approached her awkwardly, asking if she'd write LinkedIn recommendations. Every detail, every project, every password, every process was meticulously documented by her, knowing that Innovatech would soon learn just how indispensable she had been. Her thorough exit notes were not an act of kindness, but a record of the fact that she had acted in good faith, unlike the company. During her final exit interview on Friday afternoon, Dana from HR methodically ran through the checklist. "You understand that any intellectual property created during your employment remains Innovatech's," she stated while sliding over a non-disclosure agreement. Alex replied cheerfully, "Of course. Anything made using company resources during work hours is theirs." Dana, busy checking boxes, didn't notice when Alex affirmed that she had no copies of any proprietary information. "I haven't taken anything that belongs to Innovatech," she confirmed truthfully, adding that the patent was hers after all. As she packed up her personal items, family photos, a collection of conference badges marking 15 years of industry events, and even the coffee mug her team had given her last Christmas, Stephanie Barnes, who had overseen the restructuring, stopped by with a casual tone. "I just wanted to make sure everything's in order for your departure," Stephanie said as she leaned against Alex's doorframe. Alex replied, crystal clear, as she wrapped a small award, given for the very algorithm that now lay at the heart of her future plans, carefully between layers of tissue paper. "You know, Alex, these restructuring decisions are never personal," Stephanie continued. "Brian thinks the company needs to be more youthful." Alex met her gaze directly and replied, "I understand completely. Business is business." For a moment, Stephanie hesitated, uncertainty flickering in her eyes, but she quickly brushed it off. "So what does a 55-year-old about to be unemployed woman do next? Are you planning to take a break?" she asked with feigned concern. Alex smiled and said, "Actually, I've already got something lined up. I start on Monday." Stephanie's surprise was evident. "That's fast. Anything exciting?" Alex grinned. "A leadership role? I'm really excited about it." Stephanie nodded, already shifting her focus. "Well, good luck with that," she said, leaving Innovatech's glass building for the final time. With her key card surrendered and personal belongings in hand, Alex paused to look back at the building where she'd dedicated 15 years of her life. On the top floor, she could see the executive meeting room lit up, likely planning how to redistribute her work among younger, less experienced, and cheaper staff. They had no idea that within 72 hours, that same room would be hosting an emergency crisis meeting instead. Monday morning arrived bright and clear. Alex dressed in a new charcoal suit, a power outfit she'd picked out just for this day. A sleek town car from Precision Systems arrived right on time at 7:30 a.m. to take her to their headquarters, where she would begin her first day as Chief Innovation Officer. The press release went live at 7 a.m. Lucas informed her as she settled into her new corner office with towering windows. Industry newsletters were already picking up the story, and the communications team was on high alert. The announcement was carefully crafted. Precision Systems had secured exclusive rights to a revolutionary processing algorithm, and it welcomed its creator, Dr. Alex Morgan, as Chief Innovation Officer. It detailed her background, highlighted her role as the sole inventor of the patented technology, and explained how Precision Systems would integrate the algorithm into their next-generation products. Crucially, it stated that any company using the technology would now need to negotiate licensing agreements with Precision Systems. Shortly after, at 9:15 a.m., her phone buzzed with a message from her former team at Innovatech. "Total chaos here. "What did you do?" It was from Miguel, her lead developer. Smiling, she typed back, "Check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers waiting." Meanwhile, 8 miles away at Innovatech's headquarters, what was meant to be a routine Monday morning executive meeting had turned into a dramatic crisis session. According to Miguel's live updates, CEO Brian Cole had arrived to find both the general counsel and the chief financial officer waiting outside his door. The industry announcement had hit their inboxes simultaneously, triggering immediate alarms. By 9:30 a.m., the meeting had shifted from a routine kickoff to an emergency session with board members joining remotely. While the legal team frantically sifted through her employment contract and the documents detailing the development of her algorithm. "They're pulling every file with your name on it," Miguel reported, as someone wheeled in all the servers from the research division for the tech team to analyze. Alex could vividly imagine the scene. Brian paced the conference room, demanding explanations from Stephanie and the legal team. The company's stock was already reacting. The news had created plenty of uncertainty among investors. At 10:45 a.m., Alex received an email from Brian himself, his message filled with desperation. "Alex, there seems to be a misunderstanding. Please call me as soon as possible." She forwarded it to Precision Systems' legal team without replying. By noon, speculation was rife. Innovatech's stock had dropped 7% since the market opened, while Precision Systems stock had risen by 12%. 3 different tech journals were now requesting interviews with her about the strategic coup that had rocked the accounting software industry. "How are you feeling?" Lucas asked as he stopped by her office to check on her. "Honestly, after 15 years of watching others take credit for my work and being told I should be grateful just to have a seat at the table, I'm finally getting recognition," Alex admitted. Just then, her new executive assistant appeared at the door. "Dr. Morgan, the development team is ready in the main conference room," she said, adding, "Also, Innovatech's CEO has called 4 times in the last hour. Please let him know you're tied up in meetings all day." Alex calmly replied, "I'll have our legal team reach out later this week about licensing options." As she headed toward her first meeting as Chief Innovation Officer, her phone buzzed again with another update from Miguel. "Board just called an emergency meeting. Brian's about to blow a fuse. P.S. my team, and I accept your offer. When can we start?" "Tuesday morning." The full impact of her departure was now evident at Innovatech. Their flagship product, which had relied entirely on her algorithm to process massive datasets and give them a competitive edge, now faced a grim choice. Either negotiate a licensing deal with Precision Systems or rebuild their core technology from scratch, a process that would cost years and millions. Brian had called an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m. Later, Miguel texted that it was his last day at Innovatech. He and the rest of her former team were set to start at Precision Systems on Monday. "Rumor has it, they're even thinking of suing you," Miguel added. Alex forwarded his message to her legal team, who replied almost immediately, "Let them try. Your documentation is flawless, detailed logs, timestamps, and records of using your own equipment. We've prepared for this scenario." Meanwhile, Alex was settling into her new role with remarkable ease. The respect she received at Precision Systems was a stark contrast to her final years at Innovatech, where her ideas were often co-opted by others. Here, her age and experience were seen as assets rather than liabilities. During their afternoon briefing, Lucas shared that early tests of her efficiency improvements were showing a 51% performance boost, better than anyone had predicted. Alex admitted that she had several refinements she never shared with Innovatech after discovering they planned to eliminate her role. "Their loss is our gain," Lucas said with a satisfied smile. He added that the first licensing inquiry had come in that morning, not from Innovatech, but from Dataflow Systems, who were worried about being caught in the crossfire. Later at 3:30 p.m., Miguel sent a detailed account of Brian's all-hands meeting. Brian had tried to project confidence, assuring staff that Innovatech would fiercely defend its proprietary technology, but the tension in the room was palpable. Several employees had even updated their LinkedIn profiles, sensing the company's vulnerability. Stephanie looked like she was about to faint when someone directly asked if they'd failed to secure the patent. Miguel reported that Brian had cut the Q&A short. By Wednesday, the industry fallout had escalated. Two major clients had contacted Precision Systems about switching from Innovatech's product, concerned that without her algorithm, Innovatech wouldn't be able to maintain it. Precision Systems stock had risen another 8%, while Innovatech's continued to plummet. That same day, Alex received a call from Dana in HR, the same person who had slid the severance folder across the table just days earlier. "Alex," Dana began in a careful, professional tone, "I'm calling to discuss the situation with your patent. We think there might be some confusion about the ownership rights." Alex replied calmly, "There's no confusion. My employment contract clearly states that any intellectual property developed on my own time with my own resources belongs to me, and the patent documents confirm that." Dana explained that Brian hoped she might come in to discuss options, noting that any talks would need to go through Precision Systems' legal department. Alex responded, "I'm sure they'd be happy to set up a meeting to discuss licensing terms." The silence on the other end said it all. Finally, Dana sighed, "I'll pass that along." That afternoon, Alex led her first formal presentation to Precision Systems' board of directors, outlining the technology roadmap with her algorithm at its center. Standing confidently at the head of the table, not tucked away in a corner like she had been at Innovatech, she caught Lucas's approving nod. By Friday, just 1 week after leaving Innovatech, the company had slipped into full crisis mode. Their stock had dropped 23% from Monday's opening bell, triggering worried calls from major investors and prompting tech analysts to publish speculative pieces with headlines like "Can Innovatech survive the algorithm crisis?" and "How one strategic blunder could ruin a tech giant." Through her industry contacts, Alex learned that Brian had finally admitted the severity of the situation to the board. Innovatech now had to either license her algorithm from Precision Systems, likely at sky-high rates that would crush their margins, or rebuild their product from scratch without using any technology covered by her patent. They had even started recruiting a new development team. During a Friday video call with Miguel, he mentioned that Brian was claiming they could replicate the functionality in 6 months. Alex couldn't help but laugh. "The original algorithm took me 3 years to perfect, and that was with deep insight into the problem," she said. Miguel agreed. "Nobody's buying that timeline, especially after your team all resigned at once. The knowledge drain is massive." Later that afternoon, Innovatech's attorneys finally reached out to Precision Systems to negotiate potential licensing terms. Their legal team, following the strategy they devised, responded with terms that were technically fair but strategically painful. 3 times the standard industry rate, plus a public acknowledgement of her role as the inventor. Lucas predicted that Innovatech would balk more at the acknowledgement than the cost. "Every day they spend trying to duplicate my work is another day we extend our market lead," Alex replied. The following Monday, 10 days after her abrupt dismissal, Alex led the first meeting with her newly formed innovation team, which included Miguel and the other 5 engineers from Innovatech. The room buzzed with energy as they mapped out the next evolution of her algorithm. "This is how development meetings should be," joked Anita, one of her former colleagues, recalling how they used to spend half their time explaining basic concepts to executives who wouldn't listen. "Now, your expertise is truly recognized," Alex responded. As the productive session wrapped up, her assistant appeared at the door. "Dr. Morgan, there's been a significant development at Innovatech. Their board just announced an emergency leadership change. Brian Cole is stepping down immediately." News of the change spread quickly. Within hours, industry publications were reporting that Innovatech's board had lost faith in Brian's leadership following the patent debacle. Stephanie was also out, along with the head of legal who had failed to secure the patent properly. That evening, Alex received an unexpected email from Richard Donovan, Innovatech's newly appointed interim CEO. Unlike Brian's desperate messages from the previous week, his email was straightforward and respectful. "Dr. Morgan, congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to help Innovatech navigate the current crisis. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing arrangement for your patent. We're prepared to publicly acknowledge your contributions and make amends for previous oversights. Are you available to meet next week?" Alex forwarded the email to Lucas with a simple note. Phase 1 complete. His reply was swift, beautifully executed. The board is celebrating your first major win for Precision Systems. Looks like Innovatech is finally learning a costly lesson about valuing innovation. 3 months after leaving Innovatech, Alex found herself on stage at a National Technology Innovation Conference, ready to deliver the keynote address. The audience was filled with industry leaders, tech journalists, and aspiring developers, many of whom now knew her story. The event's host introduced her as Dr. Alex Morgan, Chief Innovation Officer at Precision Systems and inventor of the distributed processing algorithm that had revolutionized data handling across industries. The applause was thunder. As she stepped to the podium. What a difference a few months can make, she began, recalling that just last year she had attended the same conference as part of Innovatech's delegation, seated in the back while Brian gave a presentation about his company's so-called innovations. "Thank you," she continued, scanning the attentive faces. "Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of properly valuing creative contributions, no matter where they come from." Her talk detailed the technical aspects of her algorithm while also addressing broader issues of recognition and respect in the tech world, without naming Innovatech directly. She stressed that companies should protect their innovators rather than treat them as disposable resources. After her presentation, several young women engineers approached her during the reception, seeking advice and mentorship. One, barely 30, confided, "Your story changed how I document my work. I now keep detailed logs of my development process, even on my own time." Alex smiled and replied, "Your innovations deserve protection." As the evening wound down, she checked her phone to find a news alert. Innovatech had finally announced a licensing agreement with Precision Systems that acknowledged her by name as the algorithm's inventor. Although their stock had stabilized, it remained much lower than before her departure. Exactly 1 year after being told to clear her desk, Alex sat in her spacious new office at Precision Systems, reviewing the quarterly innovation report. Under her leadership, the company had launched 3 groundbreaking products built on her algorithm, capturing significant market share from Innovatech and other competitors. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Lucas, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said, setting the glasses on her desk. "The board wanted me to share this news with you personally before the public announcement. Precision Systems has officially surpassed Innovatech in market valuation for the first time in our history." Alex smiled, feeling not triumphant but quietly satisfied. "That's what happens when you value innovation properly," she remarked as Lucas poured the champagne. Her assistant then delivered a sleek envelope, an invitation for her to speak at the annual Women in Technology Leadership Summit on the topic, "Owning Your Intellectual Value: How Proper Documentation Changed an Industry." Lucas commented as he noticed the invitation, "You've become something of an icon." Alex reflected on the journey. The story of an executive who wasn't recognized until she was gone had become a cautionary tale in boardrooms everywhere. Richard Donovan, who had stayed on as interim CEO at Innovatech following the crisis, had instituted sweeping changes in how the company recognized and rewarded innovation. Their new policies on intellectual property protection and inventor recognition were reportedly modeled after the program Alex had put in place at Precision Systems. "It was never about revenge," she said, raising her glass in a toast. "It was about recognition, showing the industry that innovation isn't anonymous. It comes from real people who deserve real credit." Lucas agreed as he clinked his glass with hers. In the warm afternoon light streaming through her office windows, Alex reflected on her journey at 56. She had finally found what had eluded her throughout her career, not just success, but true acknowledgement. Her name was now permanently linked to the algorithm that had transformed an industry exactly where it belonged.